starting this course on career counseling, it is extremely important to understand why you should take your career choice seriously. In this video, we will help you understand the importance of making the right career choice for yourself. So, why is your career choice so important? It is important because it determines a lot of things in your life, including number 1, quality of life. Your career choice plays a huge role in deciding where you live, how flexible your life is, and the kinds of things you are able to do in your free time. Number 2, identity. Ask any elder person about their career and they will tell you about it as a part of their identity. They'll say something like, I am a journalist, instead of, I report news. Notice how everybody asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And not, what do you want to do when you grow up? This shows that your career choice shapes your identity. Number 3, impact. Every human life touches thousands of other lives in so many different ways. If you select any 60-year-old person who is about to retire, take a time machine, find him as an infant, throw that infant into trash, and then come back to the present day, you'll find that a countless number of things around you have changed. So whatever career you choose, the world will be affected by it. Anything that determines your quality of life, your identity, and the impact that you make should be taken very seriously. And that includes your career choice also. So we hope that this short video could help you understand the importance of making the right career choice. Having done that, we will now move forward to start our career counseling course. We are pretty excited and we hope you are too. So let's begin. See you.
We're live, guys.
Good evening, everyone. सबको स्वागत है. Welcome to day 85. Welcome to day 85 of ProBano's live podcast. All the audience members, welcome. Thank you for coming. And of course, Aditya and Mr. Same, welcome to you as well. And Vinayak running the stream. और आज के हमारे guest है. I think this is one topic that we haven't quite covered it in its purest form. So I'm glad to have our guests with us today, which is firstly Akshat Raghava and Prashant Gupta, who are both co-founders of Beryl. Now, what does Beryl do? Let me introduce. But first of all, Akshat and Prashant, thank you for taking the time to come to speak to us, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Great. So guys, मैं अक्षत और प्रशांत को इंट्रोड्यूस कर देता हूँ. Mr. Akshat Raghava is an award-winning designer based in New Delhi. Over the years, he has not only completed more than 300 projects, but has also contributed to design fraternity by mentoring young designers in the space. Also, he has been actively teaching students as a guest faculty for more than a decade now. He completed his graduation from Rhode in product, lighting, packaging, furniture, and jewelry design. In 2010, Akshat co-founded Beryl India, which specializes in design services, working with startups to establish brands in India and abroad. In his design process, Akshat relies majorly on using traditional design methods such as sketching, model making, prototyping, and modeling in computer programs, as well as manufacturing technologies and experimenting with different materials. The key to design, in his opinion, is based on the combination of simplicity, functionality, emotions, and sustainability. His motto is, if you are enjoying the process, results will reflect that. Now, moving on to Prashant Gupta. Prashant Gupta is a founder of Beryl and an experienced principal consultant with a demonstrated history of working in digital designs, branding, and industrial designs. Also, he has now been running multiple businesses for 13 years now He loves reading physics and psychology, and we're going to talk about that. So again, Akshat and Prashant, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the podcast. Of course, the introduction that I gave you, if you could please introduce yourself in your own words and address the audience, please. Thank you. Firstly, I guess, Prashant, if you could go first.
Okay. So, hi guys. Thank you for having us. As we have already been introduced, I think sufficiently good by the team. We have been primarily heading this creative agency by the name of Beryl. We started in 2010, and the journey was more solopreneur. But over time, over years, and over a period of time, we have been lucky, and God has been really kind. People around us have been really nice, that we grew into a business where we now had a team of around 14 people, and somebody like me who is at the top of the organization majorly looks into the overall aspects of the business. And yeah, that's more or less about me. Although coming from a branding background, design was something that always was keen on, and we gradually built it on. That's just a small bit about me. I think Akshat can introduce himself.
Thanks, Prashant. Thanks, Amant, for the introduction. And well, that was a long introduction itself. So I'm going to just add a couple of things that it didn't have. So I work as creative director at Beryl. Basically, what that means is, just getting into the design aspect of each and every project and looking at, what we have to deliver and how we want to deliver it and how we can put in the magic portion of Beryl before we deliver it. So that's basically what I do. And by education, I'm an industrial designer.
Okay, that was short.
Yeah.
Sweet, maybe. So, firstly, I have two things to clear up at the very beginning. Firstly, Beryl. Now, I play PUBG, and Beryl is the name of a gun, so, that I know of. I'm not sure. So, can you talk about Beryl, the organization, the name to begin with?
Yeah, Prashant.
So Beryl comes apparently from periodic table. There's famous radio jingle, "So chahi bhi aa sakti hai" types. This happened to us, and me and Akshat are school buddies. In case you don't know, and we were commerce student. We were never a science student. But yeah, we realized beryllium is the fourth element in the periodic table. It's extracted from the ground in various colors, but when extracted in the purest of its form, it's transparent. So authors in 18th century have used beryl as a synonym of transparency and purity. That's what we try to reflect, and that's what our motto is. Just whatever we do, be very sorted and walk the talk.
And Akshat, could you talk about what Beryl does, as an organization for startups in India and abroad? What is the service that you guys provide? What do you do?
So primarily, we are a branding agency. So we do branding for companies right from the beginning, where we're talking about, the logo, the brand name, and coming up with all the collaterals for whatever business they might have, and going all the way, to if they are going to marketing campaigns and how the position of the company should look, how the company should approach, what the image of the company, and how consumers should see the company's image. So all that is done. And then along with that, we have a couple more verticals as well. So we have product design as a vertical. In product design, we're talking about designing of furniture, lighting, objects. So it varies from project to project, but basically designing of it. And then we have a vertical where we do space design. By space design, we're talking about exhibition spaces We're talking about showrooms of brands. We're talking about exhibition spaces. So all those things are something that we really enjoy doing. That's why we are offering those. We used to offer other things as well, but I guess with time we have narrowed it down to just 4 verticals. And the fourth one is we do also do websites as well, but we are very picky about which website or which company we want to do, because we have a certain style of how we do things and how we approach things. So not every client, we are really transparent in that fact, literally, Beryl, in that fact that, whether we feel comfortable or we would be going with that client for a website or not. So we're not into making heavy websites where coding and everything is involved. We try to do something which is more design oriented, where things are limited in nature, and minimalistic approach where you can, the company is reflected in the design directly. And that's what we enjoy. So that's the 4 verticals we do. Prashant, you want to add something?
No, I think you pretty much have covered. And as you have rightly mentioned, when we started, we used to offer almost everything. At that time, it was a question of running the kitchen fire. And we just didn't say no to anything that came our way. And for good, I remember 2014, 15, we used to offer digital marketing and videos and whatnot, whatever client used to ask. But gradually, as we grow bigger and we had an opportunity, we just stopped offering those services and focused on these services. Out of these 4 also, branding and product design have been the biggest verticals of the Beryl so far. So yeah.
Great, fantastic. Of course, the second and most obvious question जो सबके दिमाग में चल रहा है, if you want to work at Beryl, do you have to grow your hair out?
Yep. That's a key requirement. So when during lunch hour, we can talk about shampoos and conditioners, what works and what doesn't. Well, now Prashant is pushing it. He's growing a beard as well. So I don't know what will be the next qualification requirement.
Right. So even I'm trying to grow out. Lockdown के time पे और कुछ काम है नहीं. So maybe 6 months down the line, I'll say goodbye to Aditya and say hi to Akshat.
Yeah. Well,
let's see where destiny takes me.
Right.
But with that being said, I want to hand it over to Mr. Sen, who I think definitely has, given his work experience with Government of Oman, he definitely has a lot of questions. I can see it on his face. So Mr. Sen, over to you.
Thank you, Samad. Good evening. Namaskar. Welcome to the show. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you, the 2 of you over here. I love your hairstyle. I must start off with that because that gives a branding to what you do. And, branding is such a very important thing. I believe, now I'm not a branding expert or a design expert, but I believe, since I've worked a lot on strategy, for the last 15 years, I've been working on strategy. Branding reflects the purpose of the organization along with its values, which in short we call the culture of the company. So what are your take, the 2 of you, one by one, on this statement? Akshat, why don't you go first?
Okay, so definitely, as you said, I completely agree with that statement. And branding is basically, if you're not able to express or show your demographic, what you stand for in your branding, you're not able to get them to connect with you directly. So it's really important that you're able to have that emotion clicked of your users, right? So it all comes down to, brand being able to connect with emotions. And that's what, if I have to give an example, let's say Nike.
I was thinking of Nike.
Right. I'm a mind reader as well, right? I'll add that.
No,
to my
I
resume.
use Nike example a lot. So
Okay.
yeah, go ahead, make my
Right.
day.
Okay, so when you think about Nike, there is a certain emotion that they are able to make you connect with, and that is athleticism. So it's just like talking about no matter what it is, just do it. Whether that their tagline is, तो जो भी कुछ भी उस brand से related है, it only sparks one emotion that you can be anything you want. It's just a matter of going for it. And that is something that brand is able to do in every product that they come out with. Right? Everywhere you see the way they are connecting with their demographic, whether it's a TV ad or newspaper ad, magazine, or sports event they're trying to organize. Everywhere they're pushing the same emotion again and again and again and again, because that's what Nike stands for, and that's what they want, that people should remember Nike anytime or every time they are connected to that emotion. So that's what the brand recall is coming from. So anytime you are thinking of sports and you are thinking of pushing yourself, whether it's to lose weight or get fit or anything, so that should be the first thought that should come. I should buy Nike gear, right? So brand is able to kind of subconsciously in your subconscious brain, just kind of is able to work it out in such a way कि आप कुछ भी करो, आप मेरे बारे में सोचोगे.
Correct. But Akshat, I just want to add something over here, or rather,
Sure.
I want to respond.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the right word, which
Sure.
is Nike. Just do it, and Nike is the goddess of sports.
The Greek goddess of, yeah.
The Greek goddess of sport. I have used successfully, very successfully, the Nike example with a cohort of super specialized doctors. And they connected. Because for them, it is exactly the same thing. For them, nothing is a big challenge. They're trained that way, they think that way. So they can overcome, the surgeons and all that. We think that, oh God, we are going to die. But for the surgeon, it's a piece of cake.
Right.
I mean, he just goes out there and it clicked. And I was making a presentation to the equivalent of a Minister of State for Health. And he looked at Nike and then he got into a whole discourse by himself. And he talked about Nike and I said, okay, done. I've got my project through. So yeah, Nike is not only for a sports gear, it's a way of life. I think that's the message which a brand brings to the table, to the people's mind. It's a way of life.
Right.
And what's your take on that, Prashant?
Well, I'll like to add, if two gentlemen have been talking too technical about it, I'll like to add little layman's perspective on it. And a lot of people who will be listening to it, they'll have a reaction. Nike to Nike hai, wo kuch bhi kar sakta hai. They have resources, they have power, they have people, they have access. But important thing is that branding does not require too much of money. It requires the thought. Branding exactly, अगर मैं थोड़े simple words में quote करूँ तो, a brand which is operating is apparently would be different from a brand which will be operating in Carter Road, Mumbai, will be different from the brand operating in Kanpur. Imagine करो अगर अब आपने थोड़ा सा इसको उल्टा कर दिया और कार्टर रोड वाले को कानपुर में कोट कर दिया, आधे लोग तो शायद इसलिए नहीं सोचेंगे यार पता नहीं क्या खुल गया, कितना महंगा होगा, मैं कहाँ से अफोर्ड करूंगा, बच्चों ने जिद कर लिया तो क्या करूंगा. That means your brand will lose what the connect it is trying to build. And similarly, अभी आपने कानपुर वाले को मुंबई में पोर्ट कर दिया, वो एंटर नहीं करेगा यार, this looks so LA, why would I even enter such place? No, I would not buy. Absolutely no. And branding, it's not just about the positioning as I just explained, it is much more. It not only talks about your visual identity, it talks about your people. सिस्टम, प्रोसेसेस. आप एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल लो, एक कंपनी में ऑन बोर्ड आने का क्या प्रोसेस है, ऑफ बोर्ड जाने का क्या प्रोसेस है, वो कितना इजी है, आपको कितना कंज्यूमर एक्सपीरियंस कितना आपका स्मूथ है. All those things are part of branding. When people think the branding only limits itself to logo, visual identity, brochures, communication, strictly no. Imagine you call up a company and you ask them, you call up a showroom and you ask them, do you have this product? And the other guy on the line is shouting, hey Raju, dekhna, do you have this? Or would you have that confidence in the brand? Obviously not. Or imagine you're going to an education counselor's place and the place itself is shattered. What kind of confidence will it bring to the user saying that I'm putting my future in somebody's hand who himself is not managed? So branding is not only just what your brand looks like, it is about what your brand makes other person feels like.
Brilliant.
Mr. Sen, I need to throw something in here real quick. I think we've given a lot of promotion for Nike. So Nike, if you're watching this, we are open to sponsorships.
That's a cool shot. Yeah, that's a cool shot. I love that. Samad, I love that. Yeah. That's good. And having said that, Samad, and we'll stay with Samad's thought for a moment. If I take both Akshat and Prashant's thought process, the brand is how the image of the company is lived. And I think that is what is most important over here. What do you guys think on that? It's a question of how. It's not a question of why the company is there, nor is it a question of what the company does. There's a product line, and we'll come to that. This is how the company lives, behaves, talks with the customers, behaves with its own employees, the whole thing.
I would like to answer that.
Sure, go ahead.
Just taking opportunity. Draw 3 concentric circles. The innermost circle would have a why, because how is a result of why. If you have a brand, you have a story behind it, that why did this brand exist in first place? Why did I start this brand? What is the problem that I was facing with other products, similar products, or other players in the industry who could not solve a particular problem, and what will I be doing for my users? And how become a, what do you call this? Every action has an opposite or equal reaction. I don't know. What do you call it? But
so are you trying to say that how is a manifestation of the why?
Precisely. How is the manifestation of why, and as a result of why and how comes what?
Yep, that's the product. That's your second vertical. Yep.
That's the last one. Third, after why, it's how, and after how, it's what. This is what my personal take on branding is, because till the time your why is not strong, you will never be able to connect it. Even if you look at great products like Apple, they had a why. They're making life easy. You know, if that why is missing, how will never touch the consumer.
Absolutely. Now, what basically I always try to do is I spend a lot of time on the why. And here I just want to say something. When I did the why, and I was with the cohort of highly trained super specialist doctors. They're right at the top, right up there. So I said, guys, why are you doctors? Why? What's your purpose? What's the purpose of you being a doctor? What's the purpose of you being a super specialist? And we came down to 4 or 5 simple words. For a healthier and a happier community. That's why I'm a doctor. The moment we came to that, crystallized it, and when I said it to 65 odd doctors sitting out there, You could, and they're way more qualified than I am. Okay. And when I put it up on the screen, you could see their eyes, and it's for them. Their eyes go like, "Oh, wow, I never knew that." And there was what we called a shift in the whole thinking. So the why is important, but the how is how you live the why.
Certainly.
Otherwise, the why hangs on the wall, and that's about it, and collects dust. And I think the branding is what makes the why alive.
So yeah, how part I think Akshat will explain better than me. Akshat.
I like the glance you gave each other, across virtual glances. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So, I mean, we use multiple ways of addressing how, and design plays a really important role in that sense, because design becomes the bridge which will connect both aspects, and it is the communicator in this whole thing. So usage of in brands, some say, let's if I have to give an example, the color red for Coca-Cola, right? It's really specific how they want to connect, and the emotion that they are connecting with, which is celebrations. And anytime you think of celebrations, that's what they want to recall. But it's the design aspect in everything they do is consistent, and the message is consistent in the same way. And when you are constantly giving out the same message in the same manner, so you are constantly teaching your demographic, or people who are not even in your demographic, you're teaching them that this is how we solve the problem, this is how we stand for this, and our product will address those problems in this way. And it is really important, I guess. This is something we see a lot of times with startups here as well. We've been working with a lot of startups for quite few years now, and they have a beautiful idea. It's a successful one. That's how they get the funding, and everything is all cleared. But for them, branding is the last thing that they weigh upon. So it's like, okay, this is something I'll do last, and the product is there. Yes, we understand to have a company, to have why the part has, the part where you're saying why, that has to be there. It should be clear. You should have something which will solve a problem in the market. When I say solve the problem, I'm talking about bringing something new to the market, which where people can connect with, right? So that is there for sure, but branding cannot be ignored or left as the last option. For any company, it has to come right in the beginning, so that when you are working on the foundation of everything, you are able to capture those emotions. You are able to feel. You are able to make everybody feel what you feel about the product. Does that make sense?
It does. And I want to just respond to this again. Now, I am mentoring startups. So I am currently with six startups, and active at the moment are 3, but yeah, 6 of them are there. But everybody has a product. Everybody has an idea. Everybody's idea is great. Absolutely no doubt about it. So I said, guys, let's go back to the drawing board. I said, why did you do this startup? And that's where I found they have not even thought about it. There's a lot of emphasis given on the product. There's a lot of emphasis given on the idea. And that has developed and matured to a great extent. And that's why you have the venture capitalists and the investors coming in and saying, yeah, okay, I can give you round one, I can give you round two, or whatever it is.
Right.
But the why is where I found, and I found that something was missing. So my message to all startups, starting now, or who have started up and proceeding forward, is to start working on the why. Why? Why is it that they are different than the next startup? Why would I, if I were an investor, why would I put in my money on a startup run by Akshat and not in a startup run by Prashant? It's a different matter. The two of them got together and they gamed the whole system. That's the different matter. But yeah, that's the why. I need to have a tangible reason to put in my money.
Right.
And it's not the product I'm going to put the money in. I can tell you upfront. I will never invest in a product. I have never done that. What's your take on that?
Okay, so you've already kind of answered this, that why is important and how it is important. The important thing here is that, as you said, startup needs to go back to why. Actually, they start with a why, but over years they tend to lose it. They try to they sure as an adult who forgets the very basic of the life which he used to have as a child.
I think this is a lovely way you put it. Okay.
So apparently what happens is when they started with a single person or when there were two or three of them, they have a reason why they are doing this, why they are not doing this. But as they got funds, they go as a team. Then they are stuck in a vicious circle of how and what and how and what. And what happens is that they meet experts maybe who do not share their passion, who do not have the same feeling towards the brand as they have. At times they get drifted away. They kind of just are so engrossed that they forget that it is important that a brand should be easy to understand even for a fifth grader. If you make your product, services, or your tonality as easy that a child could understand it, maybe through an example or something, but if a child can understand it, that means you're doing it correct.
Yes.
We are living in a world where in 2018, in Mobile World Congress, all the software and hardware were given a special time to Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha are people, are children who are born after 2010. That means 6, 7, 8 years old. Why? These softwares and hardware are not exactly designed for them. But if they cannot understand it, that means there's more to work on it. And when companies like Apple and Samsung can really practice this, I think there's no harm in startups practicing this. It will not make you small.
I think that's a very, very important point. And that reminds me of my childhood. Not that I'm not yet a child, I'm still a child, but okay. And in those days, we used to say Cadbury name. But what happened, that product's name, the product brand name, has become a product generic name. हम लोग चॉकलेट नहीं बोलते, कैडबरी चाहिए. It can be a Oreo, it can be a 5-star, it can be anything else, but वो कैडबरी रहता है at the end of the day. And that was when I was 5 years old, I learned it. And I'm sure there are many people who would have actually can relate with this. That now brings me to the third aspect, which is the product, and which is your second vertical. So now we have done the why and the how, and my sort of message for all the people who are watching and the people who are in startup is, guys, please work on your why and your how. You're too busy working in your startup, inside your startup. Please take some time to come out of the startup and work on your startup. And that's where you'll get your why and the how. I think both Prashant and Akshat, the way they're nodding their heads, I think that's all
Right.
agree with me.
Yeah. We completely agree.
So now the why and the how is packaged in your what? Your product.
Precisely.
And that's your second vertical. So let's get to that. Prashant has been having a lot of camera time and mic time. So we shall go to Akshat for this one.
Sure.
I got to be equitable, you know.
Sure. Thanks. Okay, so for the product design part, we basically, from when I'm saying, I mean, my perspective is coming from Beryl. We design not the internal parts. We are mostly focused on how it will look, how it will function, things like that. So we definitely believe in form follows the function. Let me say that clearly. So the form has to definitely relate and work with the functionality of it. Because if a product which is beautifully designed, let's say, if it's cut designed by, if people kind of have this mentality of, any product and every product from Apple is beautiful. So if Apple tomorrow designs something and the functionality of it is not doing its job right, then no matter how beautiful that product looks, it's considered a flop product. Because if you have a pen and that pen is not able to write, then no matter how much gold it has or how beautiful intricate pattern work you have gotten done on it, it's just, you won't be able to call it a pen.
Unless
So-
you're James Bond.
Yeah, I mean,
James Bond.
you're shooting bullets out of it. That's a different thing.
That's a
But-
different
right? But so that's the basic thing, that form has to follow the function. But what it all boils down to the fact that functionality has to be there. The product has to function. Otherwise, no matter what you do to the exterior of it or the packaging of it or branding of the product, nothing will work. Because अगर product नहीं है, वो काम नहीं कर रहा है, तो एक बार शायद कोई खरीद ले, लेकिन दोबारा कोई नहीं आएगा खरीदने. So basically, I'm going to give you an example of packaging in the same way. In order for a package to be picked from a shelf, it takes only a couple of seconds for design to communicate that, yes, I'm here and I have something new to offer. And people, on average, within 2 seconds, they make a decision whether they want to give a chance to a new company or not, right? Picking up this package from the shelf of any superstore or general store that might have, right? But that chance is only once given based on the design or the communication or the branding, everything. But एक बार वो पैकेट जब खुलेगा, product consume होगा, then everything relies on the fact whether that product is able to bring that customer back again or not. उसके बाद ना पैकेजिंग काम आएगी, ना ब्रांडिंग काम आएगी. प्रोडक्ट ही वापस लाएगा और प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर ही है वो सारा बोझ. Branding and everything will play a role in the entire journey for sure. But customer coming back, जैसा आपने कहा कैडबरी, अगर मैं कैडबरी की जगह आपको 3 स्टार चॉकलेट दे देता ना, जो नकली वर्जन आता था हमारे बचपन में 5 स्टार का, आप खाने के बाद उसको दोबारा नहीं खरीदोगे, क्योंकि आपको पता है आप कंपैरिजन किस चीज़ से कर रहे हो. आप कर रहे हो कंपैरिजन उसका 5 स्टार से कर रहे हो, और देयर इज अ पैलेट दैट यू हैव क्रिएटेड, राइट? So if the product is now not able to stand up to those expectations, it's not going to work. So same thing when we do our product design vertical part. So even if it comes down to a chair, अगर no matter मैं कैसी चेयर बना दूं, कैसा उसको अपहोल्स्ट्री फैब्रिक दे दूं, सब कुछ दे दूं, अगर वो कंफर्टेबल नहीं है, so you will not be able to sell a lot of pieces, or company will not be able to sell as much, or the amount of pieces they want to sell. So it pretty much boils down to the whole thing. So our job is basically comes down to the fact that we will design everything keeping in mind the functionality of it, and beauty for us comes second. First, that our design is to be done in a way that it is able to work with the functionality and promote the functionality first.
Brilliant. So we did a journey from understanding why we exist to what we sell using the vehicle of the how. And with that, I want to hand over the steering wheel to Aditya Bose. So take it away, Aditya.
Oh, I think my full name was taken after a long time. So thank you so much, Mr.
No, yeah, he's been talking about branding and all that. So I have to give some brand recognition as well.
No, but thank you so much for an amazing discussion. Lot of insights to draw from it. I'll just draw two and move on with the questions. So one was Prashant, how beautifully he described the concentric circles of the why, then how, then what. So I think it works everywhere. It's not just startups, it works in career as well. And now that I have talked about career, I also want to talk about one thing that Prashant addressed in the beginning, but then we entered into the philosophical and the design thing, which is amazing. However, I also want to talk about your journeys. Prashant and Akshat were in the same school and commerce students, right? So
Right.
commerce students से design कैसे हो गया?
Okay, so I mean, my interest has been in arts and design part since my childhood. So interest वहाँ से था, but basically I was born in Moradabad, where the family business was handicraft exports. So grew up in an environment where everything was being manufactured around us, and watching things being made, watching things being designed, watching things being used. So although most of the things that we sold when we had the company was decorative items only, but it just gave me an environment where possibility of you can think of something and you can create it was there, right? So that was the initial spark which started all this. And then when I graduated from high school, decided to pursue it so that I can come back and work for the family business. Things didn't work out as planned, but yeah, I mean, I started the industrial design specifically for that reason, that because industrial design is a pretty vast field. It's basically, if I have to say it in the dummified version of it, it's anything that can be produced on mass scale is industrial design. Whether it's a needle or an airplane, anything that can be produced on mass scale is industrial design. So with that degree, you're basically left with that no matter what career choice you make, if something in the industry is being manufactured or done, your degree or your education covers that. So along with that manufacturing part, I'm going to add one more thing. Industrial design also covers service design as well. So when we're talking about service design, I'm talking about things like FedEx, Airbnb, Zomato, Swiggy. So they are designing a service. So all that is also something comes under industrial design. So yeah, my little bit of my environment in Moradabad, around me, and then but my schooling was done in Delhi. I was in boarding school here, and so creative part element was always there, and I decided, let's explore that. And since I had the interest, it was something I really enjoyed. Even today, I enjoy it a lot.
Amazing. Prashant?
Actually, mine was an topsy-turvy case. So I belong to a very typical Bania businessman family, and we have business running for 4 generations now, and I'm the 4th generation. And currently, it's also diverse and it's huge and everything. But I did it for a good number of years, around 5 years after my graduation. But that's when it was. I realized that if you're a store owner of Nike, and if you die, somebody else would open a store. But if you're the owner of Nike, you'll always be the owner of Nike. And I wanted to create something at that point of time. Now, apparently, I was not very clear that I wanted to create what or what do I want to do. So I took a break from my own business. I went literally on a sabbatical. I did nothing for 6 months, like not even thinking what I have to do. I went in that mode, like flushing it out, detox. After that, then I started thinking, asking my friends, family, what's my strength, what's my interest, discovering that. That is where when I just came to this point that, yeah, okay, so this is what I really want to do. This is, I think I can be some good at. It will be more of a quiet taste, but gradually I know the passion I have for creating brands, I'll go someplace. That's how I started. Journey again has been a little topsy-turvy because hota kya hai, jab aap sochte ho, in 2010, as I said, I was in 2009, I was in business, and dad has a lot of contact from business fraternity and all. And you start an agency, and everybody's like, तुम काम करो, काम की टेंशन नहीं है, बहुत आ जाएगा, ये दे देगा, वो दे देगा, वो दे देगा. But it never happens like that actually. Because when you go to all those uncles, they'll say, oh, I'm getting at half the price, I'm getting double the service what you are offering at the same price, and all those stuff, it will happen, and you don't have an experience to handle my company. So initially we used to offer whatever every small and big client that we used to have. We used to go out all by ourselves, design by ourselves, present it, create it. वेबसाइट बनाना सीखना था, कोई मुझे सीखना था, फोटोशॉप सीखना था तो मुझे ही सीखना था, जो कुछ भी करना था मुझे ही करना था. There was no option. I was not at a liberty of having employees because I literally didn't start with a capital investment into Beryl. The idea was to create something from the mind, not from the capital. So this is how we started, and gradually, as I said, God has been kind and people have been nice. They liked the work, they referred to us, they referred more clients. Now we have done some 250 clients across 90 countries. And trust me, it's an amazing feeling when you see your brand displaying a big hoarding on D&D or in other metropolitan cities or in Singapore. Even in Afghanistan, we have done a fashion brand. These are the journeys that you always cherish. You can tell stories to your grandchildren. ये मैंने किया था. And it is never about money. It's not about money. If we get a good project, we'll do it despite the fact we are getting a lot of money on. Although better with money, but yeah.
So absolutely, I think there are two amazing things about what we heard just now. So one is obviously the why. हमने career का why cover किया, and as Prashant said at the end, it's never about money, it's about the passion. So I think guys in the audience, the good part is that we had, before I started conversing with Prashant and Akshat, we had a finance expert, we had a design expert and a marketing expert talking about stuff. And the good part is that the fundamental principles remain the same. So all of them agreed at a certain thing, right? And that shows कि आप किसी भी field से the fundamental principles. So what Prashant said about the why, how, and what remains the same across and across. for a career, for a startup, and that why in a career should always be your passion and not the money. So the first thing should always be passion. And again, Prashant followed it up with a statement कि पैसा हो तो और भी बढ़िया है क्योंकि अपने घर को जला के किसी के दूसरे के घर को सेक देना वो भी सस्टेनेबल नहीं है तो फ्री में काम करना हर टाइम भी सस्टेनेबल नहीं है बट या some projects are like that कि passion से भी करने में बहुत मजा आता है.
Right.
Prashant also wanted to ask you, about the different courses or let's say the pathway to a career in marketing or a career in design, and this can be even not traditional. So let's say if we don't want to talk about degrees, but let's say if I'm in class 12th or if I'm in college, अभी मेरे को epiphany आया या फिर मेरे को पता चला कि design is my passion or marketing is my passion or something as a cross, because your career is a cross of design, marketing, branding and entrepreneurship. So अगर मेरे को ऐसे किसी फील्ड में step in करना है, what should be the pathway ahead?
Okay, so there is no definite pathway ahead कि आप ये particular course ही करना है और ये ही करना है. Branding, brand design, product design is more of understanding of people and their needs. I always say how high emotional questions you have, how good you can empathize. Today, do I realize that what Aditya needs to hear, and can I say the same? If yes, then degree really does not matter. As a matter of fact, even in our organization, we never ask for degrees from people who apply. We just ask for their portfolio, their design, and we just pick up any design and just start talking, why did you create this? What was the thing that you were trying to reflect, and is it being reflected? So the keyword here is perceived as portrayed. If you're creating something and it is conveying the same meaning to everybody, that is a good design or good brand. There is no degree. I see a lot of entrepreneurs creating their own logos and they come out with beautiful options. You don't need a master's degree in that. Homegrown brands, India was a place of homegrown brands. Branding professionals came much later. Yeah,
something like a Haldiram or a Bikaner wala, these are like homegrown brands.
So many of them.
Right. Akshat, what are your views on this? Like the pathway ahead to pursue a career in design or pursue a career in branding?
So I agree with Prashant. What he said, you don't necessarily have to have a degree or a diploma for it, but you just have to have passion for it. Because not trying to discourage anybody, but we see a lot of the time what happens is many people think as a hobby, they like to sketch. And then at one point they said, why not I start making money out of this and why not I go pro? So if you have a hobby, then chances hai कि you might not be as passionate about it, okay? Because hobby का purpose अलग होता है, is to get a break or do things on occasional times, right? So once you get into full-blown thing, then what happens is you tend to understand that this is not what you had in mind for this particular field, and it starts to look too much work or work where you're not enjoying it, right? So I definitely believe if somebody thinks they're thinks that they are creative and they have this amazing understanding of design, they should definitely think about whether they would like to be doing this as a professional, making a living out of it for a long run. Because in short run, you won't be able to, justify, as Prashant was saying, when we started the brand and everything, the uncles would always be really supportive in the beginning, but then they just said, if you would go to them and we know, they know we have a degree, we have the, portfolio and everything, but they would be like, nahi, abhi tumhare paas experience nahi hai. So in order for you to be able to make money and make an actual impact, you have to have that experience. And no college, no degree, no online course, no video online can teach you that experience. It has to be down and dirty. You have to get it, from the real world. Literally getting into projects and learning from there, because what my experience out of a project is might not be same as Prashant's experience, because his point of view will be completely different. So he might be creating a video, or he might be telling you about something from his perspective, but उसकी कोई guarantee नहीं है कि वो मेरे perspective से match करेगा या नहीं करेगा. And funny thing is, me and Prashant, we are very much opposite in terms of things that we do, the way we do. So which works in our favor actually. I mean, yes, we are running this business together, but it works in the favor कि हम हर चीज को अलग perspective से देखते हैं. So we are able to question each other, which works out कि अगर ऐसा हुआ तो, अगर इस तरह से interpret हुआ तो, so those kind of things work out in our favor. So why I'm saying all this is, don't follow things just because they seem कि हाँ इसमें पैसा है और इसमें fame मिल जाएगा, which is lot of the times things are picked up just because कि famous हो जाएंगे और नाम मिल जाएगा ये वो, because there's lot more to gain or earn out of doing something which you love and enjoy every day than fame and money.
But having said so, sorry, did I butt in between?
No, go ahead.
The important thing here is what Aditya asked was, after 12th, obviously we cannot expect student not to go for his graduation and post-graduation and jump to his starting an agency directly. So for students who really want to get into this business, I would say pick up something, at least at the graduation level, something in marketing, because that deals a lot with understanding the psyche of the consumer and how your product should operate in the market. You're really serious about marketing, branding and design becomes a sub-function of it.
Right. So
Okay.
I'll add. Sorry, Prashant, you're saying something. Go ahead.
Now, I was just saying, once you are through with your graduation, there are loads of options in your post-graduation. I'm sure Akshat will add a couple of options more, but what I know of, specializing into branding. Then I have this. You have this course, especially I found in FDA, which is a diploma in luxury marketing. So there are very specialized functions that are out there. Food and beverage marketing is one of the another course available in Italy, and fashion marketing is one of the courses. If you really want to go specific and niche to that extent, it's better. There's absolutely no harm in reading and studying, and that only makes you wise. Akshat.
Yeah, so I was going to add just one thing. I haven't heard of something like this in India, at least. What happens is, when you are in 11th or 12th, during your summertime, you kind of, if you have an interest in, let's say you have interest in marketing or you have interest in accounting, I don't know, whatever, right? So summertime in US, at least when I was there, so what happens is these school kids, they take like 6 weeks of course where they get introduced to the real world situation or things of that nature, where they're kind of interns, but it's not expected that they will be there to help the company out in any way, but instead it's just an experience that the company is able to provide them, that if you choose this particular field, वो क्या experience होगा, वो कैसा होगा, daily इस पर्टिकुलर फील्ड में क्या एक्सपीरियंस कर सकता है एक इंसान. So those kind of things, I think somebody should start where I know it's hard to have interns where you have to teach everything, but to these interns, because it takes a lot of time for a business to invest in this kind of service. But if colleges or schools can come up with a program where they're able to help kids out, 6 weeks ना हो, 1 week ही हो, but you are able to sit in that office which does something that you might or are thinking of pursuing. अगर उस ऑफिस में वो केवल 1 हफ्ते जाके शाम को घर आ जाओ, कुछ काम नहीं करना, but just watch people, what they do, how they do, why they're doing this, it will be a big help, because you get to learn so much just being in that environment and understanding that what you might think and what the reality is, उस gap को clear करने के लिए. And this happens in pre-college as well, where अगर मुझे art या design में कुछ पढ़ना है, तो right before you actually go for college, you're able to take a course for 6 weeks or something, and you actually get classes from same college in the same manner that they would have in a proper course, but it's just a brief course for 6 weeks. It gives you complete picture of what to expect out of this. And I guess something like that would be amazing. It doesn't exist, at least I don't know if it exists in India, but it should be started, or somebody should think about it, at least the education system.
I agree totally with Akshat, because that immersion of can be 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, a week, 2 weeks, or whatever, is very important, because everybody, when they're young, they have this notion. I had it. Everybody has it. That काम करने जा रहा हो तो काम ही करना है.
Right.
But the reality is, when we walk into an office, especially in the early days, there will be days when there is no work to do. You have nothing to do. And the question then arises, what am I doing here? क्या करने का है? I did that with my son. I took him to my office for 4 weeks. And the second day he was cribbing, what's going on? I said, go and talk with the guy, to send him to my boss, who was the vice president. You know what the guy told my son? He said, sit there, get onto Google and Google. Learn how to Google. I mean, people do not know how to Google, by the way.
That's a big scale, trust me.
I mean, if you don't type in the right things, you'll get all the wrong answers.
Yeah, you need to learn how to question.
True. That's the more fundamental thing. Like, I think if you know how to question, Google is a piece of cake.
Yeah. Not always. As a designer, Google has been a pain to us, like it has been a pain to doctors, because people come with all those half-cooked knowledge and they'll apply all the fundamentals on us. Why haven't you created a logo in golden ratio and stuff like that? And that's impossible to us.
Yeah, we are familiar with the WhatsApp University. We also have the Google University to add on to that. Right, Aditya?
Great insights to draw from 2-3 things. So first of all, focus on practical experience, especially in design and marketing. Secondly, a degree is important, and then there are specialized degrees, not just the BDes or the BFA, which is the known one. Even in post-graduation, as Prashant said, and even I got to know this. I am a career counselor, by the way, guys. And don't perceive me wrongly. It's just that every course you can't know about. But yeah, luxury marketing, there's a post-graduation on. I got to know about it for the first time. Then there's a course on fashion marketing. Thankfully, that I knew about. But again, a lot of people don't. So yeah, these are some great options. And Thirdly is get some work experience. So, whether that be by starting your own agency at a young age, just try it out, or as Akshat said, just pick the brains of people who are working in the industry. So for one day, probably you don't do any work, but then you're picking the brains of people. And I want to sum up design. Usually Saman does this, and I'll leave Saman for the outro. But yeah, there's one quote which I really liked, which Prashant said, and it really simplifies design and explains it very well. Is what you so it should be perceived as portrayed. That's what you said, I think, a while ago. So that's really something which is really beautiful. I also typed it out in the comments, guys, so that if you need to refer to it. So yeah, with this, over to Saman.
Great. So I was just sitting back. 6:15. So I was just sitting here. Like, I just shut up and listen, learn. And we've been getting a few comments, a few questions. Lekin before I get to that, I do have one question I want to ask myself, which is I take this ye mera khud ka, I don't know, you could call it I'm abusing my power as a host. I extend the podcast by a bit after listening. Naye questions aa jate hain. But Akshat, you did say that you don't just work with anyone that approaches you. No, you don't just pick up clients just because they're offering money or they're offering anything in return. But you pick out specific customers that you think you should work with. Now, having said that, what is that one question that you ask the client, or what is that one comment that the client tells you that that makes you think like, okay, this is the guy we need to work with? Of course, keeping aside classified confidential information.
Right. Okay. So I'll tell you what makes us sometimes. I'll tell you a couple of things where what makes us not work with people as well, because you didn't ask that one. So this is a new trend in. We've been experiencing a lot of people. They come up with a product and then they say, this is a new product that I am trying to launch, and everybody, literally 90%, if not more, Prashant will be able to give you the number exact, but everybody wants to just focus on premium market, and the product is not premium, right? And it just becomes like, you want, which is if I have to give you an example, think of Lifebuoy. Lifebuoy ने बहुत मेहनत करी, बचपन से बेचारा मेहनत करता हुआ आ रहा है कि वो बेदिंग सोप बन जाए, लेकिन आज तक नहीं हो पाया उससे, right? Because the product is not for that. वो कितना भी, they have spent like crores of money on advertising and to change their image. They had an advertisement where entire train used to bathe from it, right? Entire football team and sport teams, they all would use the same soap, and soap would not be done. So those kind of things where the product is not able to justify whatever we will do. As I was saying earlier, agar product will not be able to live up to its expectation from consumer's perspective, then आप जो भी कुछ कर लो, उस पे सोना चढ़ा लो, कुछ भी कर लो, you'll not work. So those kind of things we try to stay away from. कि reason being is like we bluntly do say sometimes to the brand that we think there is a lack. आप कुछ भी कर लो, this will have an issue. And we have been in tough situations when we say shit like that. But sorry, but it's just our nature. I mean, we say it upfront that this is the reason why we are not going to take this as a project. And what really is interesting to us, what we really like type of projects are something that brings us with a different challenge, something which gives us an opportunity to try doing that we haven't done before, and it just allows us to use part of our brain which has not been active, and because that's that's the whole point. When Prashant was talking about him not willing to continue his family business where everything is already set and done, and he's just sitting there and selling, the product which his family business is into. So basically, it just becomes a mundane thing. So we try to think of taking projects which bring challenges. We don't think of everything has to be completely out of this world, but something which brings us a different perspective of how we look at things. And some really interesting projects, I would say, have been like, we work with a brand which is for sugar substitute called stevia, right? So it's a completely different thing. So it has been in India for a couple of brands have been selling that product already, but the client that we had, they had a completely different approach. The entire product was manufactured and right from the beginning in India itself, locally. Everything was done locally. So other brands are actually getting it done in China. So those kind of things, when you're looking at a brand which is bringing something different and new to the market, it has challenges where we'll have to figure out how we will be able to communicate, how the demographic will be, demography of the company will be touched, and what kind of emotions we have to touch. All those things are really interesting to us, and it keeps us up at night and pretty late hours. But the amount of satisfaction you get, after successfully finishing those kind of projects is, I can't really put in words, but it's just makes you feel that you have accomplished something. So that's one of the reasons we really try to push ourselves into new challenges and fun stuff that will bring something new to the table.
Right, and I want to because you said one thing like जितना भी सोना लगा ला उसके ऊपर, लेकिन if your product is not for the market segment you're aiming for, it's not for them. Right. And उसी से I remembered a quote. Everybody knows Real Madrid, the football team, and everybody knows Zidane. Lekin there was a particular player called Claude Makelele, who was the main man in the midfield. So in that particular year, Real Madrid sold Makelele to buy David Beckham. So this was a quote by Zinedine Zidane. He said in 2003, who said, "Why put another layer of gold paint on the Bentley when you are losing the entire engine?"
Exactly.
Right. Or of course, there was a lot of, it was basically a quotes galore today. But I do want to pick out one particular quote by Prashant to end this wonderful conversation. As Prashant says, the how is the direct manifestation of why, and your how leads to your what.
Yeah.
With that said, first of all the audience members, thank you for watching. Aditya and Mr. Sen, thank you for joining and the questions, and Vinayak for running the stream. And of course, most importantly, Akshat and Prashant, thank you so much for taking. Thoda khich gaya. We should have ended at 7, but the conversation was so wonderful that I had to do that, of course.
That's good.
But thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and thank you for coming on to the podcast. Any last words before we say goodbye?
Okay, all I would say is keep creating. You do not need to have a creative agency to create something. Creativity is a process that you can have in your life, in your daily routine, in your everyday family management, business management. Just be creative. It will be fun thing.
Also, yeah, I'm going to add one line that we in Beryl use this again and again. There is no right or wrong, right? So there is no right or wrong into doing things. It's just
A different perspective.
right. So make it work, and just give it a shot for sure. As I said in my quote, in my intro, Samant, you mentioned that if you're enjoying the process, the results will reflect that.
Right. So basically, just do it. Nike, if you're watching, we are listening.
Right.
This guy's gonna get sponsorship today itself.
Someone send a mail to Nike right away.
I will directly. Who's the CEO?
Whoever, doesn't matter.
Anyway, with that being said, thank you so much, everyone. Stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, like and follow our Facebook page and turn on post notifications to get notified when we do go live. And subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch our videos on entrepreneurship. And we'll see you tomorrow at same time, 6 p.m. with another guest. Take care now. Bye-bye. See you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.